Good afternoon, everybody.
That was when due.
I'm Mary Neubauer, one of the co-chairs for the Mental Health Task Force, and I'd like to welcome you this afternoon
Maybe part of that.
to our Tuesday,
Coming in there with
November 14th, 2023 meeting of the Milwaukee Mental Health Task Force.
switching, man.
And all of the information that you need will be on the website for the Mental Health Task Force and the materials. And my co-chair, Christine Apple, will go through the ground rules right now.
Hey, do I need the microphone?
No, your microphone's in the
Okay.
ceiling.
Hopefully people can hear me. Welcome, everybody, and for Zoom participants, please share any questions or tech issues in the chat. We will monitor the chat and do our best to be responsive. Please remain muted to minimize background noise for others. Auto captioning is provided. You may turn captioning on or off. Click on the caret symbol next to the captioning live transcript button if you want to hide subtitles or to view the full transcripts. At the top of your video screen, you can choose between speaker view or gallery view, whichever. To our participants everywhere, we hope to have time after each speaker for a few questions. Virtual participants use the chat feature to type your questions. And we'll answer as many as we can. In-person participants, please raise your hands. We'll answer as many as we can. We will try to first ask the questions from virtual participants. Sign language interpreters are provided at most meetings. If you need assistance accessing the interpreter, please put your request in the chat.
Okay, we have a couple announcements today. The most important announcement today is we are kicking off our membership drive. I am taking the lead on the membership drive this year. I've taken on as a personal mission. Our membership drive took a real hit over the pandemic, as it did for many organizations. And so we need to really do well in our membership drive for 2024, 2025. So the membership drive, the materials are posted on our website and are they in the membership packet, Sally?
Sorry.
Are the materials for the membership drive in the packet?
Yes.
And in the packet today, so you can find those there. You can contribute electronically. We ask, there are categoric membership for organizations, and we have membership for individuals, and an individual can contribute as minimal as they can. It's really a signification that you support the Mental Health Task Force. And the Mental Health Task Force does many things in the community. We've been around since 2004. And how the Mental Health Task Force came about was there were problems out at the Milwaukee County Behavioral Health Division with police cars stacked up at psychiatric crisis services in bringing people into psychiatric crisis services. And then we brought Sam Cochran in from Memphis, Tennessee, to do crisis intervention team training. And that was the introduction of CIT into the Milwaukee Police Department. So it changed the dynamics of a whole lot of things in the city of Milwaukee and how policing was done and how we looked at the whole concept of individuals that had mental illness. And so the Mental Health Task Force does a whole lot in the area of advocacy and education, providing information, engaging people in a variety of different social service settings, bringing together people from different occupations, helping to engage and looking at employment shortages. We have become a hub of providing a setting where educational institutions send their students to come at the end of the semester to do their end of the semester clinical internship setting, to look and see what advocacy looks like in action. We're a very critical component in the community. Without the Mental Health Task Force, these opportunities and actions wouldn't appear and wouldn't be here. So last year we took a real hit with our membership campaign. We hit about $8,000 or $9,000 below what we normally collect. And that's really difficult because we don't get funding from anywhere else except our membership drive. So we really are counting on the organizations that attend the mental health task force to step up and be able to provide membership contributions this year. And if you know an organization or an agency that hasn't been part of the mental health task force that might be able to or be willing to contribute to a membership, please talk to them, please engage them and let them know what the mental health task force does and see if you can get a contribution from them. So that's what I'll say right now about the membership drive. So thank you for hearing me. The other thing that's going to be happening is a strategic planning 2024 it'll be happening, the initial step of it will happen at the December meeting. We're going to just start off by having some breakout groups just to ask some basic questions and get some opinions about what people want or think the task force should be talking about, leading into a strategic planning that'll happen in 2024. So please come and be prepared, everybody online. We really encourage you to come in person to contribute to that because it's a lot easier to orchestrate the breakout groups and get your input and information if you're here in the room. So thank you very much. So now I'll pass it on to Christine to introduce our first speakers.
We're real excited to introduce Bob Curry and Director Levi Marker. So as everyone hopefully is aware, it's Veterans Day 3 days ago at this point, and to celebrate veterans all year, but especially in the month of November. So particularly we wanted to make sure that we had a meeting that focused on veterans issues. Bob Curry and Levi Marker will present Dryhootch's peer model. Battle Peer. Battle Peer is a community model delivered through an app that matches individuals with a peer mentor who understands their struggles. Peer support involve a wide range of issues, including alcoholism, addiction, post-traumatic stress disorder, first responder stress, cancer diagnosis. I think the time is now for us to use the technology at hand. The use of apps is, I think, what people need when they want to know. So without further ado, I want to introduce Levi Marker and Bob Curry and speak first or second.
So then I just gonna bring Bob. He's gonna tell you a little bit how Dryhootch started, and then I'll jump on to.
Yeah, you talked about membership, and we started at the organization 15 years ago. And we came to this group to understand what goes on in Milwaukee County. And so this agency or this force was very important into our starting out. Now, we started out with PTSD about 15 years ago, was when PTSD kind of, all of a sudden you see it on TV and things like that. So back in the war with Vietnam, there was no PTSD at all. So only in the probably the 15 years after that point, that was, and then 15 years ago, ourselves, we started using this. We worked with a medical college from the beginning, and we started with a training program. This is QRF, which is
Our quick reaction force, which is a military acronym for a better term when shit hits the fan, people are dying and all the medics and you're coming there to.
We have different modules that go here to train people, other veterans that become leaders. 10 years ago or so, we started with an app, and it was specifically for PTSD. PTSD. After we've had that traction, because we've tracked it through the medical college. See, and then this last year, we actually wrote it from the beginning. Because we wanted to open up to community. If you have, and the idea is that battle peer obviously, you know, that's fun. But battle can be anything. It can be alcoholism, it can be mental illness. So the ability is to go in and talk about how you set up the questions. But that can be specific to your organization. So if it's alcoholism, it's going to be trade. I can. help you out here.
Okay. Yeah, so whatever that you're suffering, either it's a addiction or a substance. And then through Bob and all the research and everything, and partnered with the QRF program, we have the application battle here that we have right here. See, there it goes. Yeah, probably click on the link for it. My first experience with Dryhootch was coming in for community service because I was facing criminal charges. And through that whole moment, when I walked in those doors to do community service, my whole career flipped.
Our motto at Dryhootch is helping the veteran and their family who survived the war, survive the peace.
Thing that our military doesn't do well enough is they train you to go to war, but they don't train you to leave. And that's where Bob's philosophy of helping veterans and their family who survived the war, survive the peace, that's why it's so important. Because Dryhootch is that transition.
15 years ago, we started Dryhootch, which is a place veterans can get together and explain how they survived, what they did, so other veterans can learn from our experiences.
When I started out at the Dryhootch, I learned that I could have fun again. I learned that I had other veterans around me that could keep me safe, friends around me that could teach me how to have fun. And the Dryhootch is really supportive to all kinds of vets. Doesn't matter. If you wore the uniform, you're allowed here.
We're talking about integrating with the community, just have a cup of coffee and sit around and just relax, and kind of allows the veteran to actually get to know the community again. We want Dryhootch to be your safe place.
We had things for vets, but we couldn't find a way to help the people that we're hurting. You know, I mean, as a veteran, most important people in my life are my children and my parents, my friends and family, and they're the ones that are being beat up almost as bad as we are. Of course, they didn't have to go through the war, but they're still collateral damage of our own personal war. We started developing from the ground up over at National Avenue, a safe place for their family members to go.
The Dryhootch Veterans and Family Resource Center provides services and support to the veterans spouses, parents of veterans, and adult children for veterans. One of the ways that we feel Dryhootch helps is different from maybe some other organizations, as we try to fill in the gaps in areas that have been missed and help to alleviate some of the pain that veterans and their families are facing. We offer individual peer support for veterans and other family members, as well as peer support groups.
I work for Dryhootch as a peer support specialist. I do a regular SOAR group, which stands for Set Free Others and Recover. SOAR is a support group that helps people with mental health issues, compulsions, alcoholism, drug use, mental health issues like PTSD. We feel that by sharing in a group using a 12-step program, you can gain the positive effects of like going to therapy.
One of the big things with being a combat vet in the community is being around people that don't know what you went through, and you just get that feeling of loneliness. When you're out there by yourself and you're not around a group of veterans, you're not sure what to do, what to say, how people are going to react. And at Dryhootch, everything's peer-led. Having people walking with you and guiding you, you just get that feeling of you're not alone.
So the QRF course means quick reaction force, and we modeled it after an understanding that veterans hear the name, they know what we're talking about. The training program is about 20 hours chopped into some blocks of time.
The quick reaction force made it so that if we got a phone call, that we could either be there in minutes as a quick reaction force to help, you know, talk down on a veteran or they could come to the office and we could work through whatever they were dealing with face to face.
Veterans developed this program within Dryhootch to be able to react to help veterans in the middle of a crisis be able to reach resources. We have an app called Battle Peer. It kind of piggybacks off our keyword up program in our training. When you were in the military, you never did anything about that. The Battle Peer is a way to be able to connect everybody, all the service members, to be able to have a battle buddy instantly and connect with them.
So this organization that I co-founded was Veterans for Diversity, and we coordinated that into our veterans family outreach so that we can have a spokesperson for veterans and can lighten that load as far as their LGBT status. Everybody's included at the Dryhootch, every gender, every race, every ethnicity, religion doesn't matter, LGBT status does not matter. What matters is that you're a veteran and you.
So the Hooch podcast is designed for veterans to be able to tell their story and be able to have somebody else in the audience connect with it and thus hear somebody's side of the story that might not have been open to, but it's that human connection that they start to hear. Everything from the Army Ranger to, you know, an Air Force cook.
You know, we had some awesome partners over the years, and we still do have these partners. Medical College of Wisconsin, Marquette, at the UWM. We also had the VA hospital, and they've been with us through this whole journey. And they're continuing to do projects with us also. If you know a veteran or if you know a family member of a veteran who does need assistance, please, by all means, contact us at dryhootch.org and we can help get the help that they need.
All right, awesome. So that was kind of like a quick overview with everything that Dryhootch does, the app, and then the QRF program. So Battle Peer, you can get it on the Apple Play Store and Google Play. And when you go to
all these eyes on you. Or the crowd.
That's me, sorry. My apologies.
starting to think of parents and
No, yeah, no, it's we're healthy.
so this one off to the right, that's battlepeer.com. That's where you can find to download Battle Peer. And then everybody on the team that has created Battle Peer, Dr. Zeno Franco, Otis Winstead, Robert Curry, and then Jason Curry, programmer. And then does peer mentoring app for veterans that improves mental health and transition support. Battle Peer's mission support, sure what that says on the other side, human to human peer mentorship for mental health and social well-being, specifically for military and veterans, first responders, and others who may be showing signs of PTSD. What is peer support? Peer support is a system where you guys see on the side, by blocking you. I need to move. Okay. Peer support is a system where individuals who share similar experiences provide practical advice and inspiration to one another. This can serve as less expensive and often more effective supplement to professional mental health therapy. And then 15 years of service, and thousands of peer mentorships hours nationwide. Battle Peer evolved organically from person to person peer mentoring, Dryhootch. COVID obviously sped up telehealth and how we had to connect because we were all isolated in our homes. You know, made everything with technology jump. And people just want to do Zoom meetings than be in person. So using an app. Let it go. Benefits of peer mentoring: decreased criminal justice involvement, decreased emergency service utilization, reduce the rate of rehospitalization, reduce relapse and substance abuse rates. Now, what this is showing is the group chat with the support group. So each morning, somebody logs in, the mentor is usually to get the group fired up and say, hey, good morning, how are you doing? And then over here on this side would be the person that the peer mentor has their list of people. And then off to the right, my stats is for when the peer is keeping track of how many times in a row they're logging in with their peer mentor. And then connect directly with your mentor when you need most. And again, this is showing the results that they have with each peer. So you can see each of their check-ins in line. And then check in weekly or daily. No more flying blind between person appointments. So we usually know what's going on with them between them seeing their therapist. And then Bob Curry, Vietnam veteran, was 18 years old when he flew over 200 missions along the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Vietnam and Laos. Like many of his fellow service members, upon returning to the nation and moved on, he and others sought to do the same. Yet the impacts of war lingered. Many veterans were grappling with post-traumatic stress. On their return, Bob, on the other hand, managed to suppress his wartime experiences while the Gulf War erupted 30 years later. It was during this time that he found solace and support from fellow veterans, his peers who helped him truly find his way home together. They formed an organization known as Dryhootch, a peer support community with pigmented byline, helping the veterans and their families who survived the war survive the peace. Through AI analysis, veterans data identifying predictive patterns of mental health, a crisis for potential crisis alert to peer mentors. So with them checking in daily, it's kind of building an algorithm on how the person usually answers these questions. When they dip into the red, that'll tell us as a peer mentor that we can go ahead and contact them. The Battle Peer Crisis Alert System, PTSD symptoms showed significant reduction over 12 weeks at breakthrough, soon to be shared in the International Journal for Traumatic Stress. So that was the presentation most people get professionally. And then right here, going into me actually working with the peers and the mentee. So that's our code that we give out to them to log in as a mentee. And somebody just would be like, hey, I'm interested in this app. How do I get it? I would send them that code and log in. And then this is the homepage for the peer where it says my peer mentor, my support. And then the check-ins are, it's these 5 questions that help us build the algorithm. Did your peer mentor talk to you? Obviously, if the no is going to be a red flag for us to talk to them. And then, especially as veterans, we're known to do kind of stuff that's off the wall because that's the environment we came from. So have you engaged in any risky behaviors you defined it this week? Yes or no? How well did you sleep this week? How stressful has this week been? And then we get the checks that they do every day. And that's the first thing in the morning, you know, a peer mentor would look and see if there's any red indicators on this. And then I actually had it set up. So every peer mentor actually had another mentor mentoring them. So Robert Waite was my peer mentor, and this is his bio that you can see in the app. You can see his date of birth and his phone number to contact him. And actually from the app, you can make phone calls too. And then the support group. So for the Great Lakes Dryhootch, we have 128 members. I'll tell you when they're online. And it starts off with, like I said, like this morning, hope everybody, and then we have, I do an announcement to let everybody know where the meeting places are. And then this is just to show an example of what's going on in the group chat. You know, Tracy says. Well, anyways, you can get it. We're talking. And it's just about what's going on in everybody's day, what's relevant to information, what groups do we know about, who's going where. And the 128 members are all over the United States. So of course, the ones in Milwaukee, we know the support system. Outside, we don't know so much, so we sit down and we make sure that we have a crisis intervention plan in place where they know who to contact and where to go when they're in the middle of a crisis. And that happens within the first week of a mentee getting a mentor. And the support groups that we have right now are the Great Lakes Dryhootch page and then Milwaukee Veterans Court. And then also, I haven't caught up the slides, obviously, but now we have our first responders and now we're starting. And then the stats is how the mentee checks. And then this is the checklist, me as a peer mentor that I have of peers. And it's just down a list as many as I know I can handle based on the peers' interaction with me. Are they in the middle of a crisis mode? Maybe I can only handle 3 peers that are in the middle of crisis mode. If they're not, it's spread an amount of time that I know that they're in a good place. They have support organically and from doctors and the VA that I know I can handle more. And then the battle peer sends alerts to you to tell you like, hey, your person hasn't checked in a couple of days. Maybe you should talk to them. So that's good. I mean, I know some people that are like, oh man, another notification, but as a mentor, it's important. And then, so these are the results that I can check from each time that they check in. Now, Dale, a bad result, he was in the hospital this time, so that's why that popped up that he wasn't able to talk to me. So did your peer mentor meet with you, talk to you this week? No, he was in the hospital. Have you engaged in risky behavior as you define it? No. How well did you sleep this week? It says worse. How stressful has it worked? Same. Are you feeling good about yourself overall this week? And then, so through the app, I responded to him. I was like, hey, how's it going, bro? See, he says, I'm alive. Dale, what's your work like and workout schedule like? Flashy or high speed walks. Okay, Tuesday, Thursday, 1 to 3. Could probably jog, do 5 miles, resistance exercise, bike, you know, almost 600 calories. And also, we're tracking not only in the app how we're communicating through the app, but outside of it, we have other spreadsheets like via Facebook, via phone, or text message. And then QRF is the training program, of course, made for our mentors to be able to react to veterans and people in mental health crisis. And then if you're interested in the training, you'll go to dryhootch.org. And this is what it'll be like when you go and click on for the training course. And then we have a syllabus, so it's very structured. Day 1, you know, just really orientation. Day 2, they have they took home the homework 1 through 5. And then day 2, we're reviewing those modules 1 through 5. Day 3, 6 through 10. Day 4, 11 through 13, and then test review. And this is all done through Zoom meetings. So now we have the ability to reach it all over the United States and have veterans trained through the QRF. And not only that, we've trained quite a few number of civilians throughout. And then, of course, at the end of the QRF course, you'll get your certificate and be a graduate. And then the next step after going through our QRF training veterans go to seek on to be further hired, we urge them to work for our organization, that they go get state certified. And then this is the page for the state certification for support. And then also on the back door of house here, you have an administrator that assigns the mentors with the peers. And then they also will be in charge of making each individual organization's group. So not everybody is just on one big unorganized page. And then this is the administrator, where they have access to what mentors are in there, and then to be able to assign them. And that's it. All right, we got any questions?
So if I'm understanding this right, you guys created this app
Yes.
and you have clients, consumers out east, it looked like all on the who found the app, you know, at the app store and then got involved with you, or how did that?
Well, right now it's currently been ones that have walked into the Dryhootch that are interested in being peer support. Or ones that we've known organically and have served with. So there's already like a mentor, there's already a bond established. So it's not like some person is with so-and-so random person, you know. Does that make, did I answer that for you?
I think so. And then if I followed this too, if you go to the app store, you can get the app.
Right.
And then they have to reach out to you, you send them a code and that's how you start the engagement.
Right. Well, they'll come into me and I'll be like, all right, you need peer support. Go to the app store,
Oh,
here's the
okay.
code.
Okay.
And then they know, and then I know who to assign them in based on the conversation that I've had with them.
Mhm. So you kind of get to know them by them coming to one of the clubs.
Yeah, or, you know, through an email, a veteran says, hey, I've had this and this go on, I'm about ready to be homeless. You know, boom, boom, like a lot of stuff. And then we get on the phone call. When we talk to them, we're like, hey, this is how we're doing peer support. Let's try to put you up with resources. And also that way I know where you're at. Like your crisis.
And the peers are volunteers at this point, or any?
No, we have about 15 that are trained through the QR app. And they came on through a research project through the Medical College of Wisconsin.
Have 3 people with mental illness from Vietnam, from Iraq, from Saudi. The most serious one is he was in Iraq and he was over with ammunition. And so when he had the nervous breakdown, or they had him in the hospital in DC, fastened down for like 6 months. And here he's at home now, and what he does, he's scared to go to the VA because he's scared that's what they're gonna do to him. And so sometimes they find him out at the airport and different places. They said, you know, he could be shot or something if they don't see his dog tag. And so he's been homeless, and they had arrested him, and they arrested him just because he was standing by a car. And the man accused him of talking about he gonna break in the car. Well, he don't do that kind of stuff. But anyway, they held him for almost a year. And I asked about the veteran court, and I talking to the people who's supposed to be in the veteran court trying to get some help. And the woman told me that, well, he has to be the one to sign the papers. He has to be the one to do that. And I said, his ability is not to do all of that. So why can't I, you know, assist him and do all the paperwork and everything? She said, well, no, he has to be able to sign before. And what are the results of anybody being helped in the people's court? Because, I mean, in the veterans court, because a lot of people I talk to, veterans, you know, because I volunteer a lot out at the VA in different places. And when I mentioned the veteran court, I ain't never heard of it. I don't know anything about it. So is it really doing anything for veterans or not?
Well, through the app for Veterans Court. Veterans Court, I was looking at 6 years in prison if it wasn't for Veterans Court.
Mhm.
Cause I choked out my family members at a family barbecue. And I'd only been out of the army 6 months,
Mhm.
you know, but I was out of Afghanistan for about 4 years at that point. But the whole time I was still in the army, still doing training in my environment. Like, you know, when the cops came to me, I was like, nobody died and nobody's going to the hospital. Why am I looking at 6 years in prison?
Mhm.
And I'm like, so where I came from, I didn't do my job right, because they're still alive. Why are you gonna put me in prison? And, you know, Veterans Court's like, all right, well, you know, they put me in a lot of therapy. They put me on 3 years probation, and I had to do deferred prosecution process.
You
So
had to get that first, though. That's what I'm talking about.
what's that?
Getting to the Veterans Court, being able to get to the Veteran Court to get some help. Because he was arrested and he hadn't had his medicine in over, I think about 3 years. And when I took him out to the vet, they did a evaluation. And you know, they said, well, we can't make him stay because he's grown. But, you know, I said, really. Anyway, so they locked him up in the mental institution out there on you know, on the grounds. That's why they had him locked up, is in there. They locked him up there. I got him out of there. And then I took him back over to the VA. And he just got out of jail, out of jail. And that I've been reaching out, trying to get some help, you know, the public defender. And, you know, just going to places trying to get my nephew some help, you know. And like I said, right now, I know he's still homeless because he was in a apartment and he snapped in the apartment and stuff. And so they told me he couldn't stay there. And I couldn't. So it's just like it's like, I don't know, maybe it has to do with the color of his skin. I'm just not sure. It's like the way he was treated and way he has been treated is like, you know, I can't even get him in the Veterans Court. And what's his name? I talked to him and I met, you know, with him because I know him very well, the black guy. I know, yeah, I know him very well, and I told him about my nephew's situation. And, you know, it's like, he can't really get the help he needs because all the decisions have to be made with him, and I'm trying to get it where I can be, you know, the go through, you know, to get something done for him, you know, and that's not working because when she sent me, I asked her to send me the papers he have to fill out for the veteran courts to even look at his case and look at and help him. And so I got the papers and everything, and I filled out what I could fill out. And she said, oh, no, he has to sign, because if he don't sign, we can't help him for Veterans Court. So there it is. And so he still haven't gotten any help, and he's still, you know, I think August, when we went to court, August was the last one his hearing. And so they had this one doctor that assigned, and matter of fact, he said, I don't want to be whatever. And he left the state. He left the state and stuff. So they made a decision on, he okay. He can stand, he can, you know, he's okay. And I said, 1 minute he's okay, but the next you sit for 30 minutes or you sit and then he just snaps, you know, because they didn't want to even service him. When I had him at the VA, and the medication at the VA sat there and he talked like ain't nothing wrong with him. And so they were saying, well, looking like I'm the crazy person or I have a problem and stuff. And they wouldn't, and I said, no, he gonna stay here at ER until you see what I'm talking about. They said, because he seemed like he's fine, he's coherent and he's, you know, and he sat there for about 30 minutes and then that's when he went into thinking he's still over it. All right. And that's when they finally gave him some help there, but I couldn't get him to stay.
Yeah. I mean, veterans got to be in a place where they want to receive the help. You can,
That's right. And how do you know that when you're not mental stable?
Yeah. it's hard. You just gotta,
That's what I'm talking about. But he's not the one that hurt anybody. He just hurt not anybody.
well,
More questions?
after this, I will get his information. And I'll see if he'll talk to me.
I'm done.
There's just one comment in the chat. MC wanted to thank you both for your service.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Do I take a seat now?
Okay, thank you. All right, move on to our next speaker. We're gonna hear about Mental Health America's R&R Pure Run Respite House, and I'd like to introduce my previous boss, Brian Michaels, who's the COO, Chief Operating Officer for Mental Health America of Wisconsin. Brian?
Thank you. And yes, thank you, Bob and Levi for your service and for all you continue to do for your community, for our community, and for Dryhootch. Mary, I can't even be considered your boss. I learned way too much from you anyway. So thank you. My name is Brian Michael. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Mental Health America, Wisconsin. I'm here instead of our veteran staff who would otherwise be here presenting about the R&R house and our veteran programs and resources at MHA. Victor Kilpatrick is one of the QRF instructors. He's also a CPS instructor, so he is facilitating a CPS course today. So he's going to be here with us, and otherwise our long-standing house manager Peter Barucki is no longer with MHA. He's stepped down for other positions, so we're certainly missing him. So with that caveat that I am a civilian stepping into a veteran world and trying to do my best to serve them as they served us, I'll do my best. So a little background on the R&R house. I know we've been able to present to the task force previously, but for those of you who are not aware of it or looking for a reminder, the R&R house is Wisconsin's peer run respite for veterans. It was established in 2019 following years of advocacy by organizations and individuals like Bob and Dryhootch to have the state fund a resource that is specifically for veterans to provide that peer run respite. So while we had other peer respites in the state that serve the general population, the R&R house is the first one that only serves the veteran population, where all guests to be eligible for a stay at the R&R house are those who have taken the oath and wore the uniform for a day. So also regardless of any discharge status, any length of service, era of service, disability status, anything like that, all veterans are welcome at the R&R house. So through that funding with the Department of Health Services, the R&R house opened in Milwaukee at the end of 2019. Amidst a significant amount of not in my backyard NIMBYism and the resistance that you might expect with other sorts of treatment facilities or really supportive housing environments, but again, to see the level of difficulty and opposition come out during those hearings, when we were really trying to open a small house to just give veterans a place for respite. It was difficult to go through those hearings, but we again persevered, and thank you again to all those who came out, including again Bob and so many others to come out and make their voices heard for how important this was in the community. So after all of that, we were able to secure the ability to open our house in Milwaukee. one of those challenges being that respites do not have a really clear identification in many municipal and county zoning laws. So in order to expand these resources, it really often requires either some exception to current zoning conditions or a permit that allows it to operate in an area where it otherwise wouldn't be, because it's not considered a community-based residential facility, but it's also not something that's like a healthcare provider or other things. So as we look at increasing the availability of respite services, that's an item to always look at. And again, as we opened at the end of 2019, we all know what happens a couple months after that. The world took a complete turn, and then the thought of people wanting to go and stay in another house where they don't know who may have stayed there previously became a very difficult concept to get people to embrace. Along with that, COVID hit our staff specifically hard. We unfortunately lost a staff member during COVID to a COVID related illness. And thus, really significantly just reducing the folks that we had a capacity to staff from. So it's been a process of rebuilding since then, but we were able to successfully transition and provide warm line services. So the R&R House, at the same number where you would reach out to get services at R&R House, there's the warm line. That number is 262-336-9540. That's also available if you just Google R&R House, and you'll find that. They also operate a virtual peer support group that happens to operate every second Tuesday of the month. So that just happens to coincide with these calendars, doesn't it? So every second Tuesday from 11 to noon and from 6 to 7 p.m. The R&R House staff operate a virtual support group that's a drop-in style support group. No matter how many folks they've got, that should be open. So you can find that link on MHA's website. That's mhawisconsin.org /veteran-peer-services. So go to MHA's website and you can find the link that goes to those support group links. So as I said, R&R House has seen some challenges through COVID and other areas, but that mission, it really has persevered. We have been realigning our structure to provide support for both community activities and providing that support to veterans as we meet them in the community, along with in-house services. So really, as those who knew Peter Barucki, he was really a man that could handle that was handling many roles, and we now want to try to not put all of that on one person. So we're realigning some of that structure to be able to have more focus in the community, and then that more in-house support. Still making sure that we have staffing levels that we can ensure safety and person-centered support for the staff and the guests, as we are 7-day a week and 24/7-hour program. In order to provide that support, we need to make sure that we have people that are staffing overnight hours, that we have a sufficient coverage for those who are taking time off and other vacations. So we make sure that there's no interruption in guest services either. We're doing continued training, and as I said, Victor is currently facilitating ECPS training, which many of our staff are currently attending, and if they're not already certified, they'll be getting their certification shortly. And then we are also unifying our online operations with the Uplift Wisconsin warm line to make a much more efficient experience for folks to get that veteran-centered peer support on the warm line without having to necessarily have a call back, but to be able to get that support by somebody answering the call as they do with Uplift. As R&R House had its operations running a certain way, I don't need to tell the folks from Dryhootch it will take a little shift to move those operations into something else, but with how Uplift is really kicking off and seeing the growth there, and having alignment with Victor working in both sides, that's really been helping. I also wanted to share some other areas of MHA where we're working in some veteran related resources, especially as we're coming into the final year of our Remembering the Lost project. That's an AHW funded project between Mental Health America and the Medical College of Wisconsin. Big part of that is investigating the psychosocial factors that precede a veteran's death by suicide. One of those areas that we've looked into was looking at the 2,000 or so veterans who died by suicide between 2004 and 18. Over half of those had a court appearance within 12 months on CCAP. Looking at the same statistics from the VA, we know that about 70% of veterans don't see the VA within 12 months of their death by suicide. But here we've got half that are probably in court. So just thinking of that as potential for outreach, for screening for suicide risk, it's a relatively captive audience that, and we also know that court actions come with a lot of stress, whether that's financial, criminal matters, family law, custody battles, all of that stuff causes an immense amount of stress. Continued on with that, we've also been interviewing survivors of veteran suicide loss and veteran suicide attempt survivors themselves to learn more about what was preceding and either the stories of life leading up to the suicide or learning what the veteran's dealing with before their attempt. We're taking that and really doing a thematic analysis of what we can gather there. And again, family, intimate partner conflict comes up often. This is also backed up by state evidence and state data that shows that married veterans are more likely to die, that they die by suicide at a higher rate than married civilians, at approximately 35% to 20%. And all other issues that come up are employment related, either inconsistent employment or other financial matters, and alcohol and addiction issues. So again, resources like Battle Peter to be able to address those types of the symptoms and catch things before they turn into crisis are really crucial. The other area is to improve just the understanding of the scope of veteran suicide. So the area of that grant is to improve the vital record system. That includes working to create some legislation that adds additional occupations on death certificates. So we can see if somebody was a veteran and a farmer, a veteran and a business. People do more than one thing in their life. And especially for those who are retired or out of the service, it's really important to get that information. Requiring electronic filing of records to make it easier for those who are actually entering that information to correct it, like funeral directors, who are the ones who are actually often actually entering the information about veteran status. And also standardizing practices for fatality review teams, which could include county, regional, or statewide partners collaborating to improve the quality of life for veterans through systems improvement. Like we say, looking at where are those gaps, where are there intercept points where you could either provide intervention services, screening services, prevention services, anything like that. We will be planning a kind of a summit that will be half disseminating the results from the Remembering the Lost project, and half kind of a community workshop and work group to bring together folks to learn how we can implement a lot of these things and put it into use so that we can reduce veteran suicide in Wisconsin. So with that, I'm happy to open it up to any questions.
When is the summit?
May is when we're looking at, so we don't have dates, we don't have a date set yet, but that's when we're potentially looking for, and it would be in person. We're looking for somewhere maybe in the Fox Valley area right now.
How many beds is the facility?
The R&R house is a 3-bed, so it's got room for 3 guests at a time.
And you said in Pewaukee.
Milwaukee, yeah.
Do people come from all over?
It is, so it's open to guests statewide. We have some mechanisms to try to get people if transportation, we don't want transportation to be a barrier for anybody to get there. So whatever that might take, we can be creative with those solutions. Yeah, otherwise we do require people to have their own transportation to and from the house. It is like other respites are, it's really come and go at, as long as you're not abandoning your room for 24 hours, we just need to know, that you're going to be coming back, but it's a voluntary stay in and out. And a lot of those other policies are right there available from our house, but as the others, it's also not a assisted living environment. You expect all individuals and guests are expected to be able to maintain their own daily living activities and things like that.
What's the maximum length of stay? Or length of stay?
5 to 7 days right now. That's depending on staffing.
Well, that was my question, but you help them find another place to stay if they don't have a place to go back
Well,
to?
yes, so that is, we recognize that there's a lot of need for housing. We're also very lucky in Wisconsin that there's a lot of resources for veterans who are experiencing homelessness. The R&R house is not it's not a shelter or emergency shelter. It is intended and really permitted to operate for those who have a residence to return to, whether it's temporary or otherwise. Again, Wisconsin's done a lot to reduce the veteran homelessness rate. But there's always a need for more, and we certainly do all our best to connect folks with whatever housing resources they might.
Brian, you usually go pick somebody up from where they're at, or can they drive their car to the respite?
Yeah, we don't transport people.
Okay.
Right.
And then when they pull up and is there a list of rules they have to go through?
Yeah, so and it's again not a drop-in, so before they would get an invitation to come and stay as a guest, they would go through the whole screening process as the other respites would do. And at that time, we make sure that they know all the policies and procedures that we would be expecting them, basically all of their guest expectations, and making sure that they are aware of those and they agree to them before they even make that trip.
Well, like me, for an example, I was in this situation. Me and my wife got in the middle of a big fight. It might turn physical, might not. I just know I need to leave. And she tells me that she needs the car back, but I've got guns in my trunk, and I'm homeless right now and she's calling the cops on me, but there's guns in my trunk. So I pull up to the respite. What's the SOP?
So, one, we need to make sure that you got the invite to come to the respite first of all. So, so that would be, because we do, the address isn't out there for a drop in, right? So, we make sure that folks have that invite coming down. We do have policies about firearms on the property. So that's something that do not permit any firearms on the property. So before we extended that invitation, you would need to have somewhere to temporarily store those guns that were not in your car when they were on the property.
Has this happened before?
No, that's what I'm saying, that based on I know what our operating permit is, and we can, we cannot have any firearms on the property, even locked, load, or even locked and secured.
So. Do you have anywhere where you have a list of the requirement, so you don't get somewhere and you don't know what the criteria is for you going in there? Is there some on the website or something listed on the criteria for you even being admitted where you your place?
Well, right, nobody would know the address to be able to arrive there as a guest until they were informed of all of those expectations and what those rules.
I'm saying, is it somewhere where you could just, pull up your place, and then it's got a list of requirement, cause ain't no sense in you just going there and you don't know if you're gonna be accepted or not. Is there a list somewhere on your website explaining the criteria so you don't waste your time, or somebody don't waste your time trying to get you some help?
You can go to our Veteran Peer Services website that I spoke of earlier. That's mhawisconsin.org and the Veteran Peer Services, and follow whatever information is on there. That's what we've got publicly regarding our admission policies and anything like that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Is it a co-ed facility?
Yep. Yes, it is co-ed, and we have staff both of all genders that work there.
Is the house accessible?
Yes, so that was a point in there. We actually did some significant modifications in the house regarding we have a accessible bathroom and bedroom. We have some ramps that are get folks around there's some small steps inside the house, as well as a wheelchair ramp that will allow folks to get into the basement if there's adverse weather or like tornado shelter in place, stuff like that. We have a steering moving chair.
I was like, that sounds like a slide if you're trying to go in the basement. I don't want to be in a wheelchair on that.
And there's a curfew, right?
There is, I mean, if somebody has to work like third shift, we don't restrict them from leaving or going out and working. I don't remember this off the top of my head, so I'm not gonna say it as an answer, but I know that we did have a sign in, sign out time, because basically we're operating the philosophy that unless you've got an emergency, not much good's happening after 10 or 11 o'clock at night, so.
And no visitors, right?
Also, I cannot remember that one off the top of my head. But it's most likely due to traffic and parking at the house, because that is limited. I know we have limited visitor policies.
I think it's pretty typical of all the crisis respites. It's pretty much standard across the board. So it's just not the R&R house.
What?
Policies. Your policies for no visitors and things of that nature.
Oh, yeah,
It's standard to the other crisis respite houses across the state of Wisconsin.
Is it?
Your policies, I think, are pretty standard.
Well, yeah, so certainly, and a lot of, yes, so like.
About no visitors.
Yes, that stuff is fashioned after the best practices.
The practice of all the crisis respite
Right.
houses, yeah. Not just the VA house.
Correct.
Yeah.
Any plans for Milwaukee County? Yes, Milwaukee is not accessible.
Well, that's,
Folks,
well, and I mean, that was
Statewide.
actually a big.
but I'm just saying, like, for a lot of folks centered here and we're looking at Milwaukee, they're out to Pewaukee, that's non-existent if you don't have your own transportation or someone who's gonna.
So again, as I said, we have options for being creative with that, like an Uber reimbursement we could do, things like that. When we were investigating actually where to open the R&R house, this was a piece of consideration, was really Milwaukee or not. Because having it in Milwaukee, yes, one, you gain the benefit of being close to a lot of transportation hubs. But if it's in Milwaukee, what is the perception of that resource for the rest of the state? It's a statewide funded program. It is a statewide serving resource. So we did make that decision that it would be serving more people better by being still located on a main, really off of two huge main transportation arteries. It's off of like 94 and right off of Highway 16. So we can, even park and rides and things like that, cross-state shuttles, those were also areas of consideration we're making. Also recognizing that a lot of veterans that live in rural areas that if maybe their only transportation is hopping on a Greyhound to get down for 200 miles, that's maybe better than other options. It's better than back of the police car for 6 hours going to Dona.
This question is for you, Brian, and also if you have an answer, if you could ask the task force or people affiliated with the task force to advocate for you for something, what would you need the most help with advocacy wise?
So, peer services in general, they need more funding. And that is huge. And really the sustainability of the employment infrastructure for peer specialists is really difficult because when an organization is trying to staff with folks who are certified peer specialists, it's impossible to just target them by any sort of means. And then when you're further narrowing down and funneling that population to certified peer specialists who took the oath and served in the military as those who you're trusting to run your program, very small percentage. So the more that we can do,
we've had problems with the state of Wisconsin because they're won't allow to have information for like our program. You can do that, and now you have to. It's a state program. Now in Illinois, you can use our program for veterans. So they've been very tight. There's probably other populations that you would need. I think you need to have for somebody with a specific mental illness or whatever else it is, that you can give you a broader sense on that they're a peer, that it's not a 20 or 30 week for everyone. So that's been going on since we started. So now you run into that ourselves. So we've tried to go through Department of Veteran Affairs for Wisconsin, and we're trying to get through them to go, look, if you're specific programs that we can provide peers that understand PTSD, and then with addiction issues and things like that, that's really, that's a wide variety of need, and it's too specific for Wisconsin.
State level funding.
State level funding and really advocacy on where those bottlenecks are in expanding the number of people who are certified, because they're wanting, we have a couple really that I see pieces of that certification process and an evaluation process for state certification that are actively limiting and restricting how many people we can get certified.
And
Brian. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you very much. Oh. No, me. Okay, even. Okay, now we're lucky to have Donna Drew, and I'm supposed to be reading the
sorry.
words. I'm sorry, we haven't done that. Donna Drew is a Wisconsin native. After high school, she enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps for 4 years. She worked as a field communication operator while stationed in the 3rd SSG at Camp Kinder in Okinawa, Japan. After Donna was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps, she focused her education and career on social work. She began her VA career as a lead social worker in the women's program at the domicile. Created a new position of social worker manager in the outpatient substance abuse clinic, and later joined the suicide prevention team. Currently, Donna is community engagement and partnership coordinator at the Milwaukee Medical Center. She is the co-chair of the Southeastern Wisconsin Veteran Suicide Prevention Task Force and works closely with other partnerships in the veteran community to end veteran suicide. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. I am a social worker at the VA, working with the suicide prevention team. So thank you for this invite. I'm gonna go over some of our mental health programs, specifically for women and in co-ed. Okay. So I'm just gonna put a caveat out there that I have worked in a lot of these mental health programs. I don't know. Like I know a little bit about every one of them, but I don't know a lot about them all. So if you have a question for me and I don't know the answer, I will find the answer for you. I promise. Once I get your contact information. So some of the things we're gonna go over. We're gonna go over our immediate mental health access clinic in emergency departments, our outpatient mental health, acute mental health programs, our homeless prevention programs, our residential rehabilitation programs, and vocational rehabilitation programs. Okay, I'll just say next. There you go.
Okay.
All right. So starting with our outpatient mental health. There is where our walk-in clinics there. It's called IMAC. Of course, the VA or military, we love our acronyms. Sorry, the IMAC is the Immediate Mental Health Access Clinic, and that is open every day, Monday through Friday, from 8 until 4. That is where a veteran can come in. Even if that veteran's not even connected to the VA, they can still come in, seen at our clinic. I think as Brian said, 70% of our veterans do not get care at the VA. So there's, one of our missions at the VA is to find our veterans and find the partners in the community that are working with our veterans to help treat them. So if somebody's wants to come in and be seen, they'll through IMAC, they're seen by a psychiatrist, a psychologist, nursing staff, and a social worker are all on staff to see the veteran. So some of the specialty clinics that are within the primary care are listed up there: the geropsychiatry, substance use, PTSD, our serious mental illness, women's mental health, and general outpatient mental health. We do have these programs here in Milwaukee, Green Bay, Appleton, Cleveland, which is not Cleveland, Ohio, it's Cleveland, Wisconsin, and Union Grove. Believe it or not, I thought that when I started at the VA. I've been there 10 years, and I remember 10 years ago thinking, Cleveland, like how do we have a Cleveland Seahawks? That's Ohio. All right, acute mental health, that is where our inpatient mental health unit is a 34-bed hospital or inpatient unit. It's a safe environment for crisis management, suicide, detox, and psychosis. They also will, with this, this is both inpatient and outpatient, but there's a neuropsychology consultation, psychiatry consultation throughout the hospital, so not just in our mental health unit, but on all of our medical floors. A psychiatrist can be asked to go see a patient and help with their depression symptoms, PTSD, maybe sleeplessness, things of that nature. And follow up from our discharge, and again, discharge not just from acute mental health, but from all levels of care. And in the medical hospital, they'll have there's always a discharge action that is provided by our social workers on every unit. Next slide. Homeless program. So I don't know if maybe a lot of you heard about a year ago, our soldiers' home opened up, and that was 101 bed units or beds. And it was the old main, and it's a beautiful building. They restored it, just beautiful. So that's available. And as our veterans get housing voucher from HUD-VASH, so that's kind of like a relationship with HUD being, the housing development, and the VASH is the VA. So the VA has to follow the housing development's policies and procedures in order to secure a house or housing. So there's vouchers that are given out. There are nearly 1,000 vouchers that are providing homeless or providing housing for our veterans in apartments, and that's throughout our area, the southeastern area. There's a transitional housing at Vets Place Central, which is close to the VA. I think it's 35th and 34th and Wells, and also Union Grove in Racine. There's a grant per diem housing there. Healthcare for the homeless veteran program, as well as the veteran justice outreach program, fall underneath the homeless program. I know we talked a little bit about the veteran outreach program, our veteran justice outreach program. All right, moving on to residential, and this is a 125 bed residential rehab facility. It's a domiciliary setting, so there's each room has 2 beds in it. It's communal eating. There's groups all day that are planned, and if everyone has a schedule and they attend groups. And there's a couple different tracks. There's the general mental health track, kind of focusing on depression and anxiety. Substance abuse has a specialty track. Homelessness has a specialty track, and then the women's program, that's where I used to work in, has a specialty track where all the women all live together. It is a secure unit, so no one can just kind of come and go. And we would do a lot of women specifically groups together, focusing on women issues. And then there also is a specialized addiction, serious mental illness program. And then moving on to our vocational rehab services, I think the VA has done a really great job in trying to find employment for our veterans. Actually, there's a compensated work treatment where a lot of our veterans who can't find housing, now we help them find, they actually work at the VA in this program, and they're being paid. And also through this program, they're also trying to find like a more of a permanent position, which is, I think, pretty cool. I've never been in a facility or a medical center that actually would hire the veterans that we treated, and then also get them out to a more permanent position for employment. Some other things on site, there's a transitional residence, our TR house, so there's 9 beds, housing for, it's a house for working veterans. Community-based employment services, supportive employment we talked about, and then under supportive employment, there's also a lot of peer specialists and social workers that work with veterans who have a substance use disorders, serious mental illness, or TBI. There's a lot of I think supportive. What I think the VA would really want is that peer support. A lot of peer support at the VA, which I think is just so instrumental in helping our veterans, because those are the veterans that been there, done that, and they can walk aside a veteran through their journey and recovery. All right, and then how do we access care? Oh, nope. That's my bad. Sorry about that. All right, so specifically, and I'm not gonna be able to name everything, but there, I do have these books. They're outpatient handbooks. They're in the back if you didn't grab them. But they do have information here about specific care for our women veterans. In each primary care, there is a mental health integration social worker or psychologist. The psychologist who's in charge of that is Dr. Kristen Schmidt, and she would have been here, but she had a group to lead. It's a short-term solution focused therapy. So if a woman comes in, says, I need a little help with, X, Y, and Z, she doesn't need, a lengthy treatment, maybe just like 10 sessions would be, just to kind of help, so give that woman support. That's what they do. That's kind of, they're separate than our outpatient mental health department. We have a women's resource center that is really cool. That's an actual building outside the VA medical center. It's only staffed by women. It's only for women veterans to come in. I think it's a really safe place for women veterans to see their therapists, their psychiatrists, their psychologists. And working on PTSD, MST is military sexual trauma, and any other life changes. And again, I talked about a residential program. There is a women's programming with some specific women groups, and there's also some all gender groups. All right. So also, I can just quickly read if you didn't get this book. I have more if there's not enough, or if they're being taken back there. The Women's Health Center has primary care, gynecological services, maternity care, and infertility treatment. Prevented health screenings for breast cancer, cervical cancer, and mental health services, including screening and treatment for sexual and combat trauma, substance abuse, depression, and domestic violence. So, all right. Now, how do we access healthcare? So primary care providers can be the first great step. If, like I said, a veteran comes into the primary care and wants a referral to any of these services, they are able to do that. Primary care, or the PCMHI, that's the primary care mental health integrative team, is available for the same day access. So if a veteran wants to come in and talk to their social worker on their team, they're able to do that same day. Veterans can present to IMAC that I talked about earlier, and the EAT and the emergency department for any emergency concerns. And they can include any kind of safety concerns, establishing medication regimens. And I know veterans who aren't connected to the VA, and they'll call me and they say, I decided, I think this is the day I want to come into the VA. I feel like I'm ready. I have things going on. I refer right to the IMAC. If it's during the day, if it's after hours, it's to the emergency department, because they can get and access, they can get treatment at the VA at any of those times, and referrals. Next slide. And then one thing I just wanted to throw up here, because I don't know how many people are familiar with the Compact Act. It's been this year, legislation has been passed to provide, pay for, and reimburse for any emergent suicide care for eligible individuals at the VA. Either at the VA or out, or another, or it can be a private hospital. This actually opens up emergency care for about 9 million veterans, which I think is outstanding. So if a veteran isn't even sure that they qualify for VA care or not, they can still, we still urge them to come in, go to your nearest emergency room, come into the VA, because the VA will pay for 30 days of inpatient, followed up with 90 days of outpatient. So it really is, like I said, opened up the doors for so many veterans with different discharge statuses, things like that. So if there's an imminent risk of that veteran hurting himself or herself, that's I really wanted to highlight that they can come into the VA or any hospital. Now, of course, next slide. I just put on here on this PowerPoint how to access information about it. If a veteran does come into the emergency department, who that provider needs to call to get that episode of care paid for. So it's in some websites about the fact sheet and things like that. So I know I kind of threw a lot at you, but there's my contact information on there. The next slide. open up for any questions, anything that I could. Yes, ma'am.
So I think you have 34 psychiatric beds, is that right? What's the occupancy? I don't know if that's the right word for but are those usually full? Do you usually have open beds? Are
They
they?
typically have open beds. Yes, there is a specific side of the unit that's for geropsychiatry, for our gero patients. They might need a little extra. What's the word? Not so much extra care, but they just need a little extra more room, things like that. But it is. I've never known it to be full. I'll say that. And if it is full, then we need to go around and look at the other VAs. I think I want to say Madison would probably be the first person we might look at if we have to admit a veteran.
And so do you have a sense that the other area hospitals are aware of the fact that you have this inpatient unit? Because there's so few inpatient units in any of the local hospitals anymore. Do they know to refer to you if they have a veteran in front of them?
I would hope so. And that's, I think that's something that we are as a VA trying to do. My position was just created a couple years ago. The VA saying like, we can't do this on our own. Like we need community partners. We need our community partners to know about us. The VA is a tough place to navigate, like who do you call? I remember when I worked in private sector for 15 years before I came to the VA. And even as a veteran, I was like, I don't know who to call. So just having people, opportunities like this, and being out in the community and, meeting others is really, and you're right, because if there's there's a hospital that doesn't have a bed, but if there's a veteran waiting, absolutely call us and send this veteran over to us. Yeah. So, that's a great ask of even of this task force, if there's any way that you guys can think of that can help us reach. I'd be.
And the compact arrangement for the payment, that's up to the provider to make sure that they access it. Is that what you said?
My understanding is, and it's not all, unfortunately, it's kind of, some of it's a little clear as mud, but my understanding is yes, that when the veteran comes into the emergency room, we will coach her, when we get phone calls to the crisis line, the veteran crisis line, the 988, and then they press 1. And if they need to go to a facility, we will tell them, you go to that facility, tell them you're a veteran, and the veteran can also contact absolutely, and say, hey, did anyone follow up on this? Because one of the biggest things with the Compact Act is that we are combating is we do not want that veteran to get a bill. That would be one of the worst things, I think, for that veteran to get a bill. So if by chance that veteran does get a bill, there is recourse that we have staff that works and will make sure that veteran doesn't get a bill. Yes, sir.
I have a question. It's not specifically for you, but I heard 3 groups today talk about the need for certified peer specialists. Do you actually have numbers? I'm involved with a program that if we could throw some numbers at it, we might be able to have some impact.
Like numbers of like that.
How many more do you actually need?
Well, we need, I'll let somebody else.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
My biggest issue is that we need a system that can handle more people applying.
Well, yeah, that's real obvious, yes.
Because right now, what they do is when a training opens up in the community, they limit the first 50 applications and then they shut it off.
Yeah, and then they screen them for 15.
Right. So if you are a lucky person who knows that this training is coming up, you can get your foot in the door. However, if you are the best candidate and you are number 51, you don't even get looked at. So the fact that the organization or whoever is in charge of screening these needs more capacity, bare minimum, to look at more applications.
That's true.
And then you're gonna get higher, you will be able to screen for higher quality peer specialists than just the first 50 that apply.
If you've got a number, I like I said, I'm willing to take it.
Donna,
Yes.
you take certifications from peer support specialists outside of the state of Wisconsin?
I would. I'm gonna have to get back with you on that. I don't know. I mean, it's a, we're a federal agency, so I would say,
VA's got its own.
yeah, I mean,
Well, I think,
He's got its own certification process.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think you guys
What goes
accept
through
other
our
ones
agency.
because other states don't have such a complicated process.
Mhm.
And I think that gets a veteran in the door with you guys and then you have them.
I can't remember.
yeah, correct.
Get
Yeah.
back to you on it. It's another.
But there's certified peer specialists, the certification is for mental health and substance
And
disorder. You might have a veteran who needs a peer support that has nothing to do with those two things, but maybe something else.
state, I mean, for the
No,
country,
but
They would all be.
VA used. And you had to get certified.
Yeah, the peer support specialists that I have working on my team, they're specifically working with.
Well,
veterans
somebody
who
might, I
have
haven't.
for struggle mental health,
So,
substance abuse, yeah, but I'm not really completely sure how peer support
downtown
is.
Chicago.
Like, if they have to choose what specialty they want, like, I'm thinking like,
well, I don't think so. The state training is just, and each state has different requirements. They just have a different process of how hard it is to get in for the training, right?
Right, in the state of Wisconsin. To the whole process, so I don't wanna labor the poor audience.
But it basically comes down to, we need more funding for the organizations that are providing the training, wink, wink. Nod to one of my steering committee members.
Doing it.
That because the grants that are available or the money that's available doesn't support being able to pay enough folks to do the screening process, to do the trainings. And so you're getting maybe 4 or 5 trainings in the state and they don't apply to every single region in the state. There's only specific ones. So yeah, there's gatekeeping things that legislators aren't aware of, and there's gatekeeping things that unless you're connected to somebody who knows about the process, then you're screwed.
I think.
Well, let Kyra speak because
Yeah.
her agency just got the
Just got.
academy.
Award from Milwaukee County to do peer specialist training.
Right.
First time ever that Milwaukee County is funding it. WCS is where I work and we've been, because we have trainers on staff, we've been doing it without any reimbursement. So there will be a minimum of 4 trainings next year through this grant that we just received. And I think that what we've learned over the past, because we have about 60 certified peer specialists who work at our agency now, and we've been long in the process. We hire people who have lived experience. They don't have to be certified, and you do receive the same value. Only if, and nobody funds peer specialists in the state as a category. They may ask you to have them, but they don't give you any money for them. Anyhow, so there's ways around some of it. I think that you have to think of it, we call all of the individuals peers that work for us, that have lived experience. Certified or not, we will help them get through the certification process if they choose. So I think that there is, for the first time ever, more opportunities coming, because I think we've been strong advocates. And I can answer one of the other questions. I've had certified peers from other states try to bring their certification to Wisconsin, and they didn't accept it. So maybe with the VA, from one VA facility to another is different, but we have, and we fought, and we tried, but we did not win that, so it's not transferable at this time. But it's the same for clinicians in the state of Wisconsin. You can have a license in the state and not be able to transfer it here without going through a bunch of hoops. So they're not treating them differently, really. But they're still very rich in how they approach it. I have a veterans question. Your residential facility is located where?
Actually, it's on the grounds of the
Is it?
Milwaukee VA, yep,
It's so.
that was building 123.
And the other thing is, really, the concern, lack of clinicians for appointments at the VA is a long-standing situation. I have a friend who is a licensed person who works there. And her first appointment, even to do an intake, she told me it was like 6+ months out. So I understand you have emergency, immediate. But really, some of the other people come in who want people, what is your staffing shortage like?
So I haven't heard that. I mean, I know that it could be weeks out, with community care. So whatever our veterans, if it takes longer than 30 days to get in to see somebody, then that's when, we'll put a community care consult in for that person to see somebody in the community. But of course, a lot of times that isn't helpful because the community care, the wait in the community is longer. It's not much better. Right. Yeah, so we definitely we try with that, but is it 6 months to see a therapist? Is that what this?
What she does the intakes for.
She does the intake, so there is a delay in, correct, yeah, that I've heard that about delay in the intake process. But that hopefully there's trying to get some, I think more help with that and to not have somebody waiting. Yeah, nobody should have to wait 6 months, absolutely.
For an intake.
For just an intake, right.
We're not even talking about.
Right, you're not even talking about
access to
you're
treatment.
just answering a lot of questions.
I mean, I just hope that that's improving. That's my word.
Yes, I would too, absolutely.
I wanted to make folks aware that there is currently a Senate bill and a House bill right now being considered. It's called the Commitment to Veteran Support and Outreach. And so it is looking to provide grants to the VA to distribute to state and tribal governments to improve outreach and assistance to veterans and their families. So Sally, I'm gonna send you the information for that. NAMI is right now one of the ones that is helping with folks to provide testimony and reach out and take action. And it's really simple and easy. You put in your name, your address, they'll fill in your legislators, even if you don't know who they are, and they generate an email and send it out to your legislators. So it's a really easy way to take action and it goes on file. So even if your legislators aren't reading the millions and millions of emails that are coming out, you still have that opportunity to make things fun. So Sally, I will send that information to you so then you can distribute it to the mental health task force member.
Thank you. Then to do a few announcements that we don't usually have. What I wanted to mention is the mental health board had a retreat a week ago Tuesday. And that's the mental health board that I am a member of. And it was a really effective retreat. And we hadn't had a retreat since 2018. And we have a lot of new members on the mental health board. And what I did want to mention is I've given my resignation on the mental health board. And I will be coming off the mental health board the end of February of 2024. I'll have been on the mental health board for 10 years. I've been co-chairing this mental health task force for 15 years. And I will be stepping down the end of February as the co-chair of the mental health task force as well. After about 16 or years or 17 years. And I want to announce that Christine Apple will be the new representative on the Milwaukee County Mental Health Board starting in March of 2024. And Christine has been shadowing me and shadowed and followed and came to all the meetings for the budget and has been coming to the meetings. And is ready to step in and move forward with the mental health board. Announcing that these next meetings, and today is the first public meeting that I've announced it in. I met with the county executive a week ago Wednesday to let him know that I was stepping down with Administrator Lappin, and I announced it at the retreat. And there were some people that were rather surprised, and the reason I'm stepping down is I get to collect my pension in December. So making some changes, and I'm changing careers actually. I'm finishing a certificate and I'm going to be an end-of-life doula. So I'm moving from mainstream mental health to becoming an end-of-life doula. So I'll be working with people in the grief process and including life's process. And I've been doing that for some time now, and I'll be doing it as my way of just doing life. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. And thank you. And
Well done. I just want to say that she has actually been an excellent job. I don't think that it wouldn't been this far if it weren't for you.
Well, I wouldn't be.
That's awesome.
Appreciate your hard work.
thank you.
You're here.
Really been an honor to be able to serve on the mental health board, and got some interesting comments and accolades and handshakes at the board meeting, and one in particular about how I really was bothered to some board members. With all the questions that I asked, but now they see that the questions I asked were really important questions.
You always ask good ones.
And
Especially to listening session.
yep, and I didn't just ask them for the sake of asking questions. They were really questions that I had and the things I needed to understand, and it wasn't just to be funny. It just wasn't. So, and I know Christine asks a lot of questions in the same time that I ask questions, so she'll continue that process. The other thing is to remember the small group planning discussions for 2024 at the December meeting, and speaking to anybody that's still on virtually, please come in person. I'm pleading with you to come in person to the December meeting. Remember kicking off the membership campaign. And Christine, why don't you talk about our two awesome speakers that we will have for our December meeting?
Yeah, so to your point, we're having Judge Ashley. We're very fortunate to have our chief judge coming to our meeting, and he is going to talk about his specialty courts, and one of which is the Veterans Court. So I implored everyone at the Criminal Justice Council Mental Health meeting to come to the meeting to hear him talk. We have some questions already posed to him, and we really want an update. After COVID, seemed like the court process was just bogged down with cases, and now we want to see what it's like now that it's up and running. And more importantly than that, we want to see if our criminal justice system is truly being reformed with regard to mental health and the people in it, and seeing if we can keep people with mental health issues out of our judicial system, and certainly out of my system, which is the prison system. And also, as an uplifting end to our year, Dr. Leah Knox, mental wellness expert, is coming to talk about the holidays and hope for the coming year. I want to say something about today's meeting. I'm very moved by today's meeting. I kind of choking back tears. I'm the daughter of a Korean War veteran, and I just, in Japan. But anyway, thank you for all you do. I'm wondering if there's any synergism that can happen. You know, the thing about the suicide too is Brian, he spoke at our meeting, I think last November too, about your project and hearing some of the shocking statistics. And then hearing about the suicide prevention that's going on at the VA and all the things that are with the app when you have immediate help, when you're at the most stressed out that you can be. I wonder if there's ways in which, I mean, I can say in my agency, when we have someone who is a veteran, we say, oh, yeah, we'll just refer you, and then we kind of clear our plates. Well, now we have more granular information about what we can say to our clients instead of just like, oh, yeah, they'll take care of you. Now we can say, we've got lots of options for you and it's gonna knock your socks off. And we can talk about all your resources. So I implore everyone to spread the information to the networks, and we hear you loud and clear. More peer support specialists, more ability for people to apply even, and we need to set forth that advocacy. And one thing I want to say, and I want to give a lot of credit to you, Nicole. There was a cry for action at our last meeting, and so I think one of the things that we're talking about for 2024 and beyond is we talk a lot, but how do we push forward action? And I think we have to be more intentional about our advocacy and just our squawking to our colleagues and our friends about all the things that are going on in our community. That I think is the energy behind next month's meeting, and I think 2024 is how are we gonna make changes instead of. So thank you for pushing us and, asking those tough questions.
Well, and I think all of us here, as the task force, all of the folks that come to talk with us, we all know that we're all kind of fighting over the same money, and we're all going for the same aim of people's mental well-being, people's physical well-being, and being treated as humans. And so I think with the upcoming year is how can we come together to really fight for that main objective that all of us have to get that support, get legislative changes made, get funding, whatever it may be that, we're hoping that we can rally the troops, get out our pitchforks, whatever we need to do to make some changes.
And that's all I had.
So, and just as we springboard into 2024, we hope to have a really special meeting in January that will include some doggies and some live puppies here. So if you like puppies and want to hear about puppies and how they provide comfort and service, hopefully we'll have some puppies here. So come back for January. Yes,
Everyone will show up.
that's right. Puppies always bring people. Right?
Food and puppies, right?
I love a puppy.
Puppies. Thank you very much, everybody. Have safe travels, and we'll see you in December.